Welcome back, everybody, to the Financial Advisors Workshop. This is the show where we talk to some of the top investment advisor, representative, professionals, financial advisors in our industry. We have Yusuf Abugideiri, and he's with us from we're from Washington, D.C. area, Virginia. And so he's here to join us and talk a little bit about what he does. He's a chief investment officer and economist, a master's in economics. And he's one of the top financial advisors in the country. So Yusuf, welcome to the Financial Advisors Workshop.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So you joined a firm that had two very strong founders, and they became mentors to you. How did you get to the point that you joined the firm and got in the business? And then let's see where it goes from there. So give us your background before we go too much further.
Yeah, it was a serendipitous beginning to my career. I met Elisa while volunteering on campus at Virginia Tech. I was enrolled at the financial planning program there at the university. And I was speaking on behalf of the College of Business, and she happened to be in the crowd with her daughter at the time, who was an incoming freshman. She liked my presentation so much that she ended up offering me an internship. And after the end of the internship, I ended up getting an offer for full-time employment, which I took immediately. It was January of 2009, tremendous opportunity. And to even have a job in finance at the time was pretty rare. But as far as how my career unfolded from there, I had access to two of the best financial planners, period. And I got to learn directly from them. And with many, many hours of mentorship, I grew from an assistant financial planner to a full-on financial planner. I got my CFP in 2012. Became a senior financial planner after completing my master's degree in 2016. And then came on as a partner in 2019, and was promoted to chief investment officer just last year.
Nice.
So it's been, almost 15 years, but, few people, if any, can say that they were fortunate enough to get the kind of mentorship I got from two incredible planners, and then opportunities to demonstrate what I had learned over the years. And it snowballed, I guess.
Nice. So you started as an intern, you became a full-time advisor. Now there's 7 advisors and some more that are training, as you told me earlier. So how did your career develop from there, from joining out as a full-time employee to becoming one of the top advisors? In fact, you've been listed in 40 under 40 by Investment News. You've got a lot of accolades in the press for your success in the industry. So how did we get from new employee advisor to that success? Tell us the progression.
I think one of the things that Dave and Elisa deserve a lot of credit for is trusting, a really young team with opportunities. I mean, I'm the oldest member of the financial planning team, that's not a founder, and I'm 37. And so from my first day, I was in client meetings. And as soon as I was able to start presenting and give advice, I had opportunities to do so, and then to get mentorship and feedback and coaching on how to improve, and continue to earn opportunities to practice financial planning. And I would say that was one of the biggest drivers of my growth, because it's one thing to understand how to give advice conceptually. It is a whole and separate thing to give advice. And the only way you can learn to do it is with practice. And so, a number of founders, have shared with me directly, it can be tough. And, it's something that we hear about within the profession as well. It can be tough to trust a younger advisor. And so I credit Dave and Elisa with, creating opportunities for us to show up. And it wasn't just me. I mean, we have a number of talented folks on the team who demonstrated enough up front to earn some trust, and then continually earn more and more. And that commitment to continuing to give that space, that autonomy, and those opportunities is what allowed me and the rest of our team to develop.
Great. Good. So when you got in the business, what were you really focused on And what did you think helped lead you to that success? Was it certain programs you were involved in, or was it a planning approach? How did you direct it?
Yeah, the big filter that kind of everything moved through in terms of the direction of the firm and how we prioritized what we were doing. Dave and Elisa had set the goal of being dispensable by 2020. So of course, I joined the firm some 10, 11 years before that. So we had a date out in the future that we were aiming for, and the task was significant, figuring out how to make the founders of the firm dispensable. Um, so if it didn't speak to that, it wasn't a focus. And if it did, then it became a focus. And so that was our guiding light kind of throughout that decade for the firm's development. So figuring out ways, how do we identify who can take over client relationships and make sure they're getting the service and the advice they need? Okay, how do we develop planners so that we have enough planners to take over all the clients the firm, has been hired by, and on down the list. But it was all about dispensability and making sure that we had a team and a firm put together that could be sustainable, past Dave's and Elisa's respective careers.
Nice. Was that the same approach that they had taken when they started as well, or was that different decidedly from what they did?
I think it was different. Tough for me to speak on their behalf, but I mean, they, as founders, they started something from nothing. I think it's safe for me to say that their focus was just on developing viable, successful businesses and serving clients. But ultimately, I mean, I think they do deserve credit for taking succession planning really seriously. I mean, I met Elisa before she had turned 50, and the notion of already figuring out, the next iteration of the firm, it was part of our first conversation. Um, so the fact that that kind of planning was present at the inception of the firm. I mean, the firm was started January 1st of 2008 as a product of the merger of each of their predecessor firms. Um, the fact that thinking about the next generation of ownership was already there at the beginning of this firm's development, I think speaks a lot to the foresight.
Absolutely. Well, good. So a planning approach is the way it is. How do you handle products and all the other services that clients need?
So we are a fee-only firm. We are independent and we do not place any product. We are only paid by an assets under management fee. So we custody with Charles Schwab and kind of work from there.
Okay. So what do they provide you at Schwab that is useful?
I mean, we think of Schwab as a strategic partner. Certainly, they share space with us in that all of our clients' accounts are there. That's the interface our clients use to access their accounts. They have a portal through us where we provide, all the planning reports and performance reports and whatnot. But given that their money is with Charles Schwab, um, we consider them to be a critical part of our service offering, and we work very closely with them to make sure that our clients' experiences are, up to our standard.
Right. Well, good. So Schwab is good doing that, you think?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we've been working with Schwab for the entirety of my career. Um, I've had the good fortune of going through a few of Schwab's programs. Individually, I was a member of the executive leadership program some years ago. I learned a ton through that. From there, had the opportunity to participate in the Independent Difference campaign and promote the importance of working with an independent advisor and the benefits of that.
Right.
And, in addition, our team has been working with Schwab, whether it was strategic coaching or, enhancing our ability to create a referral culture and generate more business. Schwab's played a significant role in how we've conducted things here.
So once you do an asset allocation, how do you allocate? Do you pick managers? Do you add in, alternatives? What does a client portfolio look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I should share maybe how we think about managing portfolios for clients first. Um, every client is assigned a team of at least two financial planners. In some cases, three, depending on complexity, need, etc. Those financial planners are the people who manage their clients' portfolios. We do it all in-house. And we believe that that's important because it creates a direct connection to the financial plan and the portfolio because both are being managed by the same person. Um, in terms of asset allocation, we have a standard portfolio model, a mix of stocks and a mix of bonds. We use primarily open-end mutual funds for both. And we then build customization based on allocation, right? Percentages that we would attribute to stocks, percentages to bonds, how much is in cash, what are the client spending needs, those types of things. Those are the questions that we're thinking about as we're constructing a portfolio for a particular client. Um, and then we build from there. Is the client retired? Are they still accumulating? What's their risk profile? Those are the things that we're thinking about. But it's all done in-house. So let me pause there. Where might you want me to go next, or what might you want me to expand on?
Well, so the portfolios that are done in-house, meaning you run the portfolios, you don't place it with managers at Schwab. You run the
Correct.
portfolio. So
Yeah.
tell us, you have your own internal money management operation. Tell us about the portfolios and the offerings. What would you tell a client?
Well, first of all, I'll talk about what we believe in, and our worldview is we very much believe that financial markets, the economy, is really just an aggregate representation of the choices that individuals make. We do have a fundamental belief that people are resilient, and that people are incentivized to want to improve their welfare over the course of their lives. And so, with that being said, we believe that people are upwardly mobile and that they're going to solve the problems that they face in an effort to improve their life. If we believe that financial markets and economies are just the aggregate representation of those individuals going about the business of doing that, then we believe that markets are biased for growth and economies are biased for growth. And we invest with that in mind. So with that being said, we then think about what are the appropriate building blocks for a portfolio. We don't think speculative investments fit. So we don't do alternatives, no crypto, nothing that we believe would fall into that kind of a bucket. We have, again, a mix of stocks, bonds, cash, things that we feel are going to drive growth, but also things that are going to be reliable. It's a transparent portfolio. It's one that we can explain very easily to a client. And it's one that we can take apart and put back together and feel confident about the way that it performs and the way that the individual components play together. And that's something we do annually. We review it, and like I said, take it apart, put it back together, and make sure that we continue to like the way that it's performing. And it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. So you do planning for your clients, and then you do sort of tracking. You find out, what kind of returns do we need to get? How do we structure this portfolio? How do you measure all the things that clients need to know then when you do periodic reviews? What is your process to do that?
So for every financial plan that we prepare, we specifically document all the assumptions that underlie the planning recommendations and the projections. So we start every review of a set of projections with a review of the assumptions to make sure that the inputs are actually good inputs. And then from there, start to digest the output and figure out a strategy based on what the analysis or projections are indicating. But the first thing that we confirm is that we are actually seeing the picture correctly, and that we have a good working knowledge of where the client actually is, and that the plan that we're building or putting together is representative of their actual needs.
Nice. Well, good. So we went through some very rough markets in 2022, and then things got a little better in 23. The indexes would have you think that they were really good, but the average stock was only up about 11% for the year. So how did you do through that period of time? What kinds of things were clients telling you in 22 and then in 23? How has it changed?
It's been a fascinating 2-year stretch, following another fascinating 2-year stretch. It's been really interesting in markets for the past several years. With 22 and 23, our portfolio is one that we think is designed to weather, just about anything that markets could throw at it over the long run. We do have a tilt in favor of value stocks, which tend to perform well when interest rates are rising. That certainly was the case in 2022. Rates were going up at the most aggressive clip that they had in 40 years. And markets took a big hit due to a number of factors, not just rates being increased. But with that being said, our portfolio weathered that really well. We outperformed our benchmark. We outperformed the S&P significantly. So much so that even though we lagged behind the S&P in 23, in no small part due to the skew and performance that we can credit the Magnificent Seven with providing those massive stocks. Over the 2-year stretch, our portfolio kept up with and slightly outperformed the S&P. So, it's a story that we've been sharing with our clients, to comfort them. 2022 was no picnic. And in seeing that 2023 was great, I mean, the equities in our portfolio were up 18%. It's not the 26% that the S&P did. And so, of course, we have to contextualize performance. But over a 2-year period to have kept up without the skewness and to have, good downside protection, good diversification, it's been gratifying just to be able to show that, there is a reason why we take the evidence-based approach that we take. And we're always happy to be able to report good results.
So I know none of us have a crystal ball, but what do you think about going forward? We're in this strange situation where rates are supposed to go down, but the economy is too strong. And how is that a thing? How can the economy be too strong? And now it's going to get weaker and the rates can go down, which means that's good. But what if rates go up? That's bad. I mean, there's a lot of weird things going on right now. What do you think, Yusuf? What do you think is going
to? First of all, there's never a dull moment, and it's challenging because on the one hand, as an economist, we know any model that we build is going to focus on a couple of variables and probably ignore hundreds, thousands, millions of other variables that could affect how things ultimately play out. So the models are useful to try to gain a sense of what may come. But this is why we diversify, because nobody knows. No one has any sense. And all the things we may be expecting to play out or not play out, you and I could sit here for hours and still be surprised by something like Russia invading Ukraine, right? I don't think anyone had that on the board before that occurred. Or I don't think anyone had COVID on the board, right? So given that the past several years have just been a reminder that no one knows anything, it pays to be diversified. It pays to take an evidence-based approach that you can rely on when things are going as expected or things are unfolding unexpectedly. And long story short is I have no idea what's going to happen. But I do know that the way that we positioned our clients is in a way that we feel really confident about. And that, I guess conveniently has been tested as of late. And over the past 30 years, I mean, we've been managing money with this kind of approach and doing financial planning with this kind of approach, institutionally as a firm for some 30 years. So, I think there's a lot of confidence that comes from that as well.
Well, great. So you received a lot of accolades. Like I said, 40 under 40. You've been listed as a top financial advisor in various publications. How did all that happen, and how has that affected your career?
I'm I had nothing to do with it, from the standpoint of, we didn't apply for 40 under 40 for me. Someone else nominated me, which was a tremendous honor. Similar kind of thing for any of the other awards and whatnot. Um, it is, it's a privilege, it's an honor, it's flattering, it's humbling, certainly to be recognized, and especially when that recognition is coming from your peers. Um, and so, with that being such a significant driver, um, in the recognition, I'm humbled. What I will say is it's it's been a bit of a revelation, for me personally to appreciate that it doesn't change the job at all. It's not like you make 40 under 40 and then you're somehow better at planning the next day. Um, like it didn't change my skill set. And so having an appreciation for that, there's in my opinion an appropriate way to think about that kind of stuff. And appreciate that, we keep the main thing the main thing. I'm a financial planner to take care of clients. If doing so in a way that meets our standard and is in alignment with our company's value system and so on, if that ends up getting me recognized, fabulous. I mean, great, because that then elevates the firm's profile and allows us to do what we do better. Great. Um, but anything above and beyond that, I really try not to think about.
Okay, that's good. You got there by doing your good work, so you keep doing your good work, right?
That's, that's the secret.
Good. So there's a lot of changes going on in the industry too, and you're doing you're planning and staying steady with that. What do you see happening in our financial advisory industry, financial planning industry going forward? Any new trends, things that we should be aware of that you are going to try and take advantage of?
Consolidation is something that everyone's talking about and everyone's observing, and we're very much focused on remaining independent. And I think that's going to be more and more of a differentiator, right? So if, um, you know, firms continue to get bought up and we're able to remain out there as an independent firm that can do things the way that we think is best for our clients, I'm excited to see how that can help us set ourselves apart.
Excellent. So we're coming near to the end of our discussion, and I did mention the big question. The big question that I always have near the end is, you've shown us your great skills, your knowledge, your experience in it, and it's clear we chose the right guy to talk to. But going forward now, we're going to learn a lot, and we all have opinions on how things should be. About 300 financial advisors will see this particular show. It's one of the top rated shows in the podcasting world, and about 1,000 over the next year, mostly financial advisors, but some clients as well. And so imagine that you are in an auditorium with those 1,000 people right now, and they're all looking at you and saying, Yusuf, tell us a message that will give us confidence and thought-provoking ideas to go forward. What kind of a message would you give to our brethren about how they can be successful in this business?
We have the unique honor and privilege to occupy the space that we get to occupy in our clients' lives. We're trusted with some of the most intimate information. And this isn't news to anyone who practices financial planning. Sometimes the cases that our clients bring to us are really challenging for us to digest. Brian, we were talking earlier about a client I met with today, whose child had just received a really significant medical diagnosis. The outlook, not great. Again, our client I met with today, it's her daughter, who has this diagnosis, and she herself is a parent. So, we were notified of this yesterday, and we met with the client today, and it was certainly an emotional meeting. Someone I've had the privilege of working with for the past 14 years. to be informed of the diagnosis yesterday, I got to react as a human being and feel the emotions that come with knowing that someone you care about is dealing with something as significant as this. And then today I got to do something about it and provide value and give advice and be there for my client, for their family. And not everyone is fortunate enough to have the skill set and the opportunity to do something about the challenges that face them or the people they care about. And so it can be hard to be a financial planner. We have the unique capacity to do good in a way that many other professionals don't. Maybe in a way that no other professional does. And it's a sacred space, and it's one that, even after considering the challenges that come with that, I'm grateful for. So maybe my message is just to share that gratitude for that sacred space. And if that's a helpful reminder to anyone, then that's great.
That's great. That's great. It's a very well thought out, sober assessment of what our role is and why it's so important. And it's important that advisors are fiduciaries. They do the best they can for their clients, best interests for the client. And you're a great example of that, Yusuf, for our industry. And congratulations on your success, your continued success. And thanks for being with us today on the Financial Advisors.
Oh my goodness, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. This was fun, and just much appreciated.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for listening today. We're going to be back shortly with another interview with another fabulous financial advisor, counselor, planner. Yusuf is a great example of some of the wonderful people that we have in this industry to serve the public. And thanks everybody for being with us. Again, thanks you, Yusuf, and we'll leave it there. Thanks everybody.